Tonight, remembering the late Senator John McCain, we will look back on his life, his acts of heroism and devotion to his nation, the broken political climate tried to mend yet leaves behind, and the unconscionable way that our president has again snubbed an American hero even in death. Plus, we get a visit from Hudson Valley Congresswoman Nita Lowey, talking about both the late Senator McCain and the state of politics on the Hill, plus some of the biggest issues in D.C. as well as New York politics. And later, on a weekend where we needed laughter, we lost a man who gave us so much. We'll look back on the life of playwright Neil Simon. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you for joining us tonight. Now, we this evening, along with most political shows in the country, will spend most of this hour looking back at the life and legacy of Senator John McCain, who passed away this past Saturday. By now, you have likely heard or read something about McCain's life, his family's legacy of service to the U.S. Navy, his capture after being shot down in Vietnam, and his refusal to be sent home until the other POWs he was held with were allowed to do the same. His long service in Washington, including his runs for president in 2000 and 2008, and his legacy as a deal maker, a compromiser, and, as he would put it, a maverick. Also tonight, the nation, it is pausing to remember. The U.S. Senate back in session, missing and honoring one of its senior members who dedicated his life to serving our country.
Well, you can't replace a man like that. Everyone looked up to him. Everyone respected him.
John McCain lost his battle with brain cancer Saturday, leaving a letter he asked his former campaign manager to share.
These are John's final words. I lived and died a proud American.
Rick Davis revealing more details about plans to honor the six-term senator. McCain will lie in state at the Arizona Capitol on Wednesday.
It will be on John's 82nd birthday.
Today, a moment of silence on the stock market floor and remembrances across the globe, including in Vietnam, where McCain spent 5.5 years as a prisoner of war.
He was a warrior. He was also a peacemaker.
Back in Washington, at the Capitol, the American flag at half-staff. But at the White House, the flag already returned to its regular position. Now, literally less than 2 hours ago, the White House, after a torrent of criticism, decided to reverse course. President Trump belatedly signing a proclamation ordering flags to be lowered to half-staff in McCain's memory. But that's only after that criticism from across the political spectrum. Now, in a moment, we will welcome in Congresswoman Nita Lowey to talk about the impact of McCain's life and what his death might mean to the spirit of what limited cooperation we do see on Congress and its members. But first, this will be a week of contrast as Americans will witness a week of salutes to the late senator amidst a current political climate that seems to operate in contrast to those traits McCain held so deeply, particularly at the one house in Washington McCain hoped to have called his own. Here's senior political correspondent Andrew Whitman with more. Andrew?
And Rich, the memorials and honors for Senator McCain will be as noted for many things, including who will not be in attendance. On Wednesday, Senator McCain will lie in state at the state capitol in Arizona with a pair of public viewings and a private ceremony. Thursday will bring a memorial service at the McCain's home church in Phoenix. Former Vice President Joe Biden, referenced as a McCain family member by a spokesperson today, will speak at the service. On Friday, McCain will lie in state at the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol in Washington and will become just the 31st person ever so honored. The public will be invited to pay respects as members of Congress host an 11 a.m. ceremony. On Saturday, McCain will be taken from the Capitol to the Vietnam War Memorial in Washington, where Mrs. McCain will lay a wreath. Next, a service at the National Cathedral, where McCain's children will speak, along with Joe Lieberman and Lindsey Graham. Henry Kissinger and former Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama will provide eulogies. Vice President Mike Pence is expected to attend. President and Mrs. Trump will not. And on Sunday, Senator McCain will be laid to rest at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, in a final private ceremony for this very public American. Throughout the course of this hour, we'll share many remembrances of Senator McCain, but we wanted to begin with a trio of the most noteworthy, including the thoughts of the man who was responsible for holding McCain in captivity after he was shot down over the skies of Hanoi during the Vietnam War. That retired Vietnamese Army commander saying, quote, "At that time, I liked him personally for his toughness and strong stance. Later on, when he became a U.S. Senator, he and Senator John Kerry greatly contributed to promote Vietnam-U.S. relations, so I was very fond of him. When I learned about his death early this morning, I feel very sad. I would like to send condolences to his family. I think it's the same feeling for all Vietnamese people, as he has greatly contributed to the development of Vietnam-U.S. relations. Again, the man who held and was the commander of the Hanoi Hilton, where John McCain was held. Also of note, the reaction of McCain's fellow Arizona Senator. Jeff Flake was on CNN Sunday and was asked to respond to this statement that McCain gave about Flake after Flake announced his retirement last year.
One of the great privileges of my life has been to have the opportunity to know you and serve with you. When the Flake service to this country and this Senate is reviewed, it will be one of honor, of brilliance, and patriotism and love of country. And I thank you, and God bless you and your family.
What's it like to hear those words today?
It's tough. I'm going to miss him.
Yeah.
I have admired him, like I said, my entire life, and it's tough to imagine a Senate without him. It's tough to imagine politics without John McCain, but we need to go on.
Finally, longtime McCain friend and family spokesperson Rick Davis met with reporters this morning, and he shared Senator McCain's final thoughts, a letter McCain penned before his passing. Listen carefully for the traits McCain wrote to emphasize and how they contrast with much of our current national dialogue.
As John McCain faces mortality, he asked that a letter that he has done be read. This will be somewhat difficult, so if you'll bear with me, these are John's final words, and the family's asked that we present these to you today. And I owe it to America to be connected to America's causes, liberty, equal justice, respect for the dignity of all people, brings happiness more sublime than life's fleeting pleasures. Our identities and sense of worth are not circumscribed, but are enlarged by serving good causes bigger than ourselves. Fellow Americans, that association has meant more to me than any other. I lived and died a proud American.
Rich.
Thank you, Andrew. And for more on the passing of John McCain and what his life and loss means to Congress, and how Congress works and doesn't work, let's bring in Congresswoman Nita Lowey, a Democrat representing New York's 17th District, covering parts of Westchester, Rockland. She's also the ranking Democrat on the House Appropriations Committee. Originally, we were going to talk, we'll talk later about some of a lot of the major developments going on in Washington as we speak. John McCain's health his decline wasn't as pronounced, and now obviously his passing. But a life well lived, huh?
You know, for me, I had an opportunity to spend some time with John McCain a few years ago when he called and invited me to join with him at the Munich Security Conference. Lindsey Graham was there and a couple of other senators. There were about half a dozen of us representing the United States of America. And you had an opportunity to talk with him, learn from him. He had so much experience, and although at the time, and I still am, the ranking Democrat on appropriations and the ranking Democrat on foreign operations, he had so much to teach me and all of us. He was gutsy, he was strong, he was opinionated, not always right, but he had the power of his convictions behind him, and he will be greatly missed. There are many of us in Congress who care deeply about issues, whether they're foreign operations or education or health care, a whole range of issues. And I know for myself, it is such an honor and privilege to serve the people of the United States of America.
And I want to stay on that for a second, because, listen, we've known each other a long time. You really believe that. I know a lot of guys really believe that. Trust me, when the red light goes off, it's not like, oh, I got to go to some chicken dinner. The majority of lawmakers, certainly in for the paycheck, and it's not just for the honor or whatever, okay? but you're doing something bigger than yourself. And I gotta tell you, for the first time I can remember, it's always been a lot of fighting in Washington, but in the last 2 years, it's, sure, there's the red team and the blue team, but it's gotten so nasty and so petty. And I don't know, I think we make too much sometimes of a single passing will change something in Washington after the shootings. I remember a lot of people thought that would change the dialogue, and it was a brief respite, but he cared about something bigger than himself. You didn't always agree with him, but you never questioned his love of country. And I just find some very small people lately are talking with the loudest voices and castigating people's love of country when, if anyone should be questioned, it's their own. And God, if the bios that we've heard for the last 2 days of Senator McCain don't remind us that it's about more than just yourself or your party label. It's about the country, right? And that's not as much high supply as it used to be.
Well, let me share a few experiences with you that are relevant. Today, I was up at Montrose. I was very proud to be there because I've been working for the last 5 years getting their therapeutic swimming pool up to snuff.
So people don't know, Montrose is a VA hospital.
The VA hospital. Yeah. And to see this huge hospital, to see this huge swimming pool, and one of the vets even jumped in it and swam to the other side. He was so grateful for it. And to chat with the veterans who have spent many, sometime not only many months, some many years there, who was so grateful. It warmed my heart that I was able to secure the $6 million plus for this pool. It made a big, big difference. And to be there on the day when we were commemorating John McCain's life even more. So these kinds of experiences mean so much to me personally. I'll give you another opportunity I've had. As you know, I'm ranking on appropriations. We have 12 appropriations bills. We passed them in the House. The last bill had 150 amendments introduced by Democrats and a whole range of good government issues. All the Republicans voted no. Kind of depressing. But the next step will be with the Senate. Senator Shelby, the Republican chair of appropriation, decided that he would work together with the Democrat, Senator Leahy, and they put together some very good bills without these ugly poison pills that we call them.
There's a chance for bipartisanship.
And there is a chance that we will work together, or the bills won't go anyway, and you have to fund the government. So it's an example of partisanship in the House, bipartisanship in the Senate, and hopefully we'll get together and I'll work with Senator Shelby and get good things done.
Listen, I'll take the bullet on this one so you don't even have to go there. But today, 5 times the President of the United States was given an opportunity to just say a kind word about Senator McCain. He was asked, is he a hero? My God, the guy spent 5.5 years in a POW camp when he could have came home because he wouldn't leave his guys behind him. And he couldn't do it. They raised the flag to full mast less than 12 hours after they brought it down. And only after the American Legion shamed them into it did they again lower it. What is going on here? Can you just explain for even the casual consumer, this is not normal. This is so distastefully petty. How you can't recognize John McCain, for crying out loud, that's unbelievable.
I want to make it very clear that this president, not because he's a Republican, but because of his vulgarity, the kind of language he uses, the kind of insults that he gives to even people of his own party, is not worthy of being president of the United States of America. I will work as hard as I can, and I hope my colleagues will join me in ensuring that the Mueller investigation is carried through. all those who were granted immunity, all those
and
who
I want
have
to get to that next
circled.
segment with you, Congressman. The last thing on this one I'll ask is this. You have General Mattis and General Kelly that are in the cabinet and the chief of staff. The Republican Party historically has been the party that's aligned itself with the military. A military hero who gave his life to national service passed, and I'm waiting for the outcry of people to demand more from the White House. Can you just peel the curtain back a little bit in the cloakroom? Like, where is the outrage over how he has been mistreated by this president?
I just want to make it clear. From my perspective, and I do know Mr. Trump, President Trump from Queens, but I'm not speaking from the Queens days and his family, etc. But this outrage is evident all around the White House. I haven't heard from Secretary Mattis, but I guarantee that he made a strong statement. When it comes to Mr. Kelly and the White House, I can't speak to him. He has a relationship with the president that I hope will bring about some common sense. But Secretary Mattis is a man of competence and integrity, and I am pleased that he is staying in this position, heading up our military.
Well, I want to get into other issues of Washington, and again, we're going to have much more on the passing of Senator McCain in a few moments here, and there is, trust me, a lot more to unpack of a life well lived. But there are other issues of import in D.C. as well as in New York. We're going to get into some of those issues with the Congresswoman right after this break. Stay with us.